This is the CNC Geekcast, the podcast where two guys with speech impediments talk about movies. I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Combs.
And on today's episode, we'll be talking about my most anticipated film of the year and the fourth movie in the DC Expanded Universe, Wonder Woman. We're going to be talking about the characters, the plot, the action, and does this movie set DC back on track to making better films? So stay tuned! Okay, if there's one thing that DC did get right, it was that theme.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's theme was awesome all the way back in Batman vs. Superman. Because it definitely sounds fierce. It definitely sounds like a theme befitting a warrior.
I mean, Hans Zimmer did a great job, and I mean, that's one of the highlights of Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel was the soundtrack for me.
Yeah, but Hans Zimmer didn't do this one. This was some other guy.
Yeah, some other guy. I think he did a lot of Adam Sandler movies, which makes me sad.
Yeah, it does. Like, he obviously had a lot of talent because he did really good on this score, but then he just seems to be wasting it.
Yeah, and the Adam Sandler movies are not that good.
Yeah,
but this movie is absolutely fantastic. But before we get into it, let's tell our audience, give them a little spoiler warning.
As you already know, Joseph and I don't like to limit ourselves. When we talk about a movie, we would just want to really talk about a movie. And if we dance around spoilers without having to tiptoe, we can't do that.
No.
So, this episode is going to be spoiler-filled. If you haven't seen the film, don't listen beyond this point. Get out there, see the film, and then come back and listen to this episode.
Yes, as a matter of fact, on your way home from the movie theater, put this thing on.
That's a great idea, Joseph.
Why, thank you. I'm full of those great ideas. But when we get back to the film, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I loved the plot. I loved the characters. It had some problems, but I feel like I'm being nitpicky pointing out those problems because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's like saying that out of, if you had like 10 apples, 2 of them were bad. It's like you still got like 8 apples that were good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just fine with it.
Exactly. I mean, you got your money's worth at that point. So, but
yeah.
No, definitely in this film because DC has had so far a terrible track record. They've had 3 really bad movies. Even though there's some elements of Batman vs. Superman I enjoyed, there's no doubt, yeah, it could have been better. And Man of Steel was just... Ugh.
But yeah, the plot in this movie, if anyone's familiar with a Wonder Woman character, they will kind of know the plot. It does make some changes, but not a whole... But yeah, the plot in this movie, if anyone's familiar with a Wonder Woman character, they will kind of know the plot. It does make some changes, but not a whole lot. The movie opens with Wonder Woman as a child. Mm-hmm. We see her on Themyscira, which just looks great.
I loved how it felt worn and lived in, like Star Wars.
Yeah, and it felt old. It felt as old as the dirt. It was great.
Exactly. It was fantastic. I thought it was great.
The movie opens with that, and we see Themyscira and all its beauties. We learn about the Amazonian culture, which I love. It spends just enough time there. And then Steve Trevor comes along. He washes up on the shore of Themyscira. He's like, hey, there's this war going on outside. It's the worst thing that's literally ever happened.
Yes, and of course, according to a story that Diana was told, Zeus created man, his son Ares corrupted man. And so the gods fought Ares, and Zeus then started to create the Amazonians to try to win the man's hearts back. But they enslaved the Amazonians, and so Zeus had to push man out. I don't exactly know how well man went from there. But in order to protect the Amazonians, he put this cloak hiding the island. So it's out there somewhere, either in the Pacific or the Atlantic. I'm assuming the Atlantic, that's where most of the fighting went on. So here's Steve Trevor, with his plane entering through the cloak of fog and crashes in the ocean. Wonder Woman saves him.
I love that scene when Wonder Woman saves him, too. Mm-hmm. Just because she literally appears in a beam of light. I mean, it's about as subtle as a slap to the head.
Yeah, well, it's one of those Lord of the Rings, like the elves in Lord of the Rings, like who have this light, and there's all this mystic, elvish talk, and suddenly you're like, what's going on? And, I'm here in Elrond's land or something.
I mean, it's simple, but I just really enjoyed it. I always enjoy that in movies. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Steve Trevor comes to the island. He explains to them to the war. So Wonder Woman thinks that, hey, bad things are happening, and men are inherently good. Mm-hmm. So obviously it's Ares corrupting them.
Yes, we were told that Ares is the god of war in the Greek mythos, I think it was.
Yeah, it is the Greek mythos that in the pantheon he is the god of war. He is basically the bad one.
Yeah, I thought that Mars was the god of war.
That's Roman.
Roman. Okay. All right. Never mind. I get those two confused sometimes. But then again, Roman.
Everybody does because they're kind of the same stories with different names.
I think the Romans did that, take the mythos from other cultures and stuff.
Yeah. So Wonder Woman leaves Themyscira.
Yeah.
She does it in the dark of night.
Well, that's one of the things I like about it, because there's a scene in here where there was a sword that Zeus created that was called the God Killer. And she was told that no Amazonians ever was able to wield it or has the right to wield it or something like that. And the beginning of this movie, we see that Diana, as a child, always wanted to be a warrior, always was adventurous, and always did this. And the mom was like, "No, we need to keep you safe." And so she always had this motive to do something about bad things. Well, that was one of the driving forces. So she learns a lot about what Steve, I forgot his last name again. But,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but what do you think about Chris Pine's character when it comes to being in paradise?
I did like Chris Pine's character in this movie, Steve Trevor. I mean, he got annoying at points. Yeah. But I can kind of understand why. He was trying to be protective, and he's fighting for the social norms that Diana doesn't understand. He's trying to protect her. He's trying to...
Well, I mean, he was taught to be a gentleman, and that's what the social norms were at the time. I mean, that's what he was taught to do. And that's what the one thing I liked about his character was that he was respectful. And he tried to be respectful. And he didn't yell at Diana at any point in time.
And I also like that the movie didn't focus too much on him.
Yes.
Because when they got Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Chris Pine is this huge movie star. He's been in Star Trek. He's been in a lot of other good movies. And I was worried that he was going to kind of overshadow him. Like, hey, here's Steve Trevor, but here's Wonder Woman too.
Yeah.
But that actually didn't happen. The movie gave him a flashback a little bit at the beginning when he first gets to Themyscira.
To tell the story of how he got there.
Yeah, but it just tells the story of how he got there, and it tells the story of his motive. And after that, the movie focuses a lot more on Wonder Woman and Diana.
That's the thing that this movie does right that the other movies in the DC hasn't done. Because that flashback is very vital, because that book at that moment in time was the MacGuffin. I think it was. I mean, it was what drove the plot. It was like
it was a plot device.
It was a plot device. It's what got his character off of the Paradise Island. Wonder Woman had a different objective. He had two, and those objectives collided. But it was great, and it's another good example of good writing.
The movie was actually written pretty well.
It was.
I mean, for a superhero film, I'm not going to compare it to like phenomenal movies, of course. Yeah. But the movie was written very well.
Well, like I said, the DC films so far have not been that good. And from a DC standpoint, this movie shows, hey, look, there's still hope. We can make good film.
Yeah, it just made me wish Patty Jenkins was now in charge of all the DC films.
Yeah, me too.
She was phenomenal. The edit in this movie, even.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite things in this movie is such an obvious choice. But the fact that with Themyscira, you see the color, you see the beauty, you see the light. But as soon as they get to London, the movie has this film. The film has the film over it.
Yeah, it was dark. It was grady. And it was not something that was there because, well, let's have something dark. It was thematic. Because we were talking about World War I. So it had to be dark. The tone changed. And it was a great contrast between the two. Because you have paradise. And Wonder Woman was lived in paradise. Nothing went wrong. And then she's suddenly tossed into the man's world. And it's like, this is a huge difference. And I love that contrast between the two. But what do you think of Wonder Woman's character? This is her movie after all.
Well, first off, Gal Gadot was phenomenal.
Yes.
Like, she was everything I hoped her can be. Because I loved the little bit she was in Batman vs. Superman. But I didn't know if that was going to be indicative of the whole film. But it was. She was awesome. She held her own.
Yeah, she did. And I love the fact that she was definitely I won't say foreign actor, but she was an Israeli, and that not being an American actor is good because the Amazonians are foreign, or the Amazonians are exotic. Not say exotic. What's the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Amazonians are not like American. They're not native in that sense.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really good because it really sold that idea of them being not a part of England or a part of America or not of this world. It does a good job of that.
And I loved how pure Wonder Woman was. I don't want to say naive because she did understand and she did have her set of beliefs. I guess the word would be pure.
Well, I think she was naive in the sense that she was idealistic and naive. Her worldview was black and white. She was told the story of Zeus and told the story of Ares, but she never felt conflict before. She didn't have that gray area, and the scale was absolute. And that's the thing about this character. When she got into the real world, and that's what Steve Trevor,
you're right.
Steve Trevor, there's so many names I have in my head about that. Steve Trevor was trying to show her, it's like, look, I hear you what you say, because there's one point where Wonder Woman says, I'm going to go to your world, and once I kill Ares, he's causing this world war, and that's her motives, that's her thinking. Ares is causing the war, so I'm going to go kill Ares, and the war is going to be over. And I love how Chris Pine's character was like, in the back of his mind, he's like, that's not going to happen, but I'll go with it because you're going to help me, and But I love that aspect.
And I actually kind of love it too, because there's a couple of points in the movie you can actually see Steve Trevor's character kind of hope that that's the case.
Yeah.
He's like, I know how ridiculous it sounds, but I hope she's right. And you can kind of just see it.
Yeah, it's great because Wonder Woman brought hope into his life. This war was devastating because there was one point where Steve Trevor actually said, for the longest time, I wasn't doing anything. And then I decided to do something. And I love that. And you were talking about this, and you said that they didn't have a flashback when he said that.
And I love that, because that kind of would have took away from her character again. She was so obviously the focus of this movie.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so, which I loved. And I loved how well she embodied hope. They didn't just say she embodied hope like in Man of Steel, where they talk about Superman being the manifestation of hope.
Yeah.
And then we see him destroy New York.
Yeah, well, Metropolis in this case.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, and then that's really one of the things I didn't like about Man of Steel that you have in this film. You had a moment where Wonder Woman wanted to go to the front lines. And so, they got teamed together and they went to the front lines, but on the way there, she saw a village being attacked and the refugees coming out of the village. And the audience saw the tragedy, and you saw her see the tragedy. That's huge. And so when she decided to do something about it, and we're going to talk about that later on, you could actually see it. Man of Steel never had those scenes. I think it would have been great if in Man of Steel there was a scene where maybe a drug lord was attacking a village and Superman came and did something about it, or we saw some kind of sense of why man needs hope. We need to visually see it instead of just being told, you can bring hope to these people.
But I kind of love it too. Because World War I is probably one of the worst times in all of human history.
Yeah,
it's up there with World War II. The fact that technology has just come to fruition, and it's the first big world war. We had just gotten really efficient at killing people during that.
Yes.
It was remarkable. And she embodies the best of humanity at one of humanity's worst times.
Yeah.
And Gal Gadot does such a good job bringing that ideal to the screen. Now, I have no idea if I'm saying her name right. Is it Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot?
I have no idea. I think I've heard Gal Gadot. I don't know. I mean, either way, it's like, she's still awesome.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. We will go with that. Yeah. And there were a lot of complaints going into this movie. Like, even for me, about her not looking the part. She wasn't, bulky. It wasn't a matter of strength. It was a matter of her embodying the warrior spirit. Because she felt like the embodiment of that.
Well, that's another thing that's important, and because, you can have that muscle, but what about the inside? It's like, her character, her personality, that was whose quote-unquote muscle came in. It was a manifestation of her warrior side.
Yeah, because there's some great scenes in this movie. One of my favorite scenes when she's in the warrior mode is when she attacks the bell tower.
Yes, and there was a cool scene in that and this is Chris Pine's character, when they were on the beachhead back in the first beginning of the movie. One of the tactics that the Amazonians would use is that one of them would say shield to another, and the one on the ground would put the shield up, and the one who said shield would run on the shield and be propelled into the air. Well, there was a sniper in the bell tower, as you said, and she just got done defeating all the other guys there, and Chris Pine said to one of his team, who was a sniper, killed the sniper, and he got scared because of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, it was obviously post-traumatic stress disorder, which actually worked so well. I expected those characters to just be kind of like two-dimensional, kind of cardboard cutouts. Yeah. But they weren't. Even the side characters were pretty well developed.
And you could see the Wonder Woman's love in this, because at one point there was a Scottish, I think it was Irish or Scottish, who was singing a song in a pub, and Gal Gadot said to him, I want to hear more of your singing, even though it was terrible. It was an uplifting moment. It was putting confidence in her. And this goes to show how much she values doing that for somebody else.
Yeah, and she really looks for the best of humanity. But getting back to that scene, they're able to lift Wonder Woman up. She jumps off and she just knocks down the bow tower with just her strength.
Yeah, it was so fantastic because Chris Pine saw like a door knocked down and said, and thought to himself, oh, I remember the scene, and then Wonder Woman knows it. So without saying anything, they're able to communicate just by, habit, because she knows what the tactic is. He knows the tactic, and all he had to say was shield. She knew exactly what it was, and I love that coordination.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that too, because it felt natural. His movement with his unit felt natural. Because they did feel like people that had known each other a while. And kind of even seen the worst of each other.
And then that's the thing I love, because at one point they were they were all around the campfire. And the Scottish was sleeping, but then he woke up and had a nightmare, and he had to walk away. And Chris Pine's character said, "Don't mind him. It's just something he's been through." You could tell they love one another, and that they don't mind that, because they knew it was a problem, and they still something we got to deal with, but he's still a friend. And I love that commodity with the team.
Yeah, it really was. Even all the side characters, because there was the Native American character, there was I guess you would say the North African character.
No, yeah. I'm not
really sure about him. And then the Scottish character we were talking about, and even the secretary in this movie.
No, the secretary was great. I mean, there was another one that was who wanted to be the actor. What nationality?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like North African.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm not sure entirely where he was from.
Yeah.
So I can't remember his name, and I hate myself for that. But But even the secretary in this movie, she was a comic relief character. But it worked. Because she was competent and it felt natural.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was one point where she said, when Wonder Woman was trying out dresses, and she's like, how are you supposed to fight? And then she was like, we're supposed to fight with our principles. I mean, she was kind of mocking that entire idea, but still was conducting herself in the way that you're supposed to conduct yourself.
But that goes to show just how natural the comedy in this movie is. Because this movie does have a heart. This movie does have some moments that'll bring a smile to your face.
Oh, yeah. I do think and the message, I think, is great too, because at the climax of the film, you have Ares was revealed to be someone that we didn't think he was.
I didn't actually like that, because this whole movie was about it being this general who's an absolutely despicable man. Like, he is objectively awful.
We didn't really understand why he was doing what he was doing.
No, we didn't, because throughout the whole movie, we're thinking he's the manifestation of Ares, which kind of brings his horrible behavior. It gives us a reason for it.
Yeah.
So when we learn that it's not him, we're like, so this dude is just completely and totally awful. I know that there are awful people, but it really didn't make much sense. And then the fact that he had the elixir that did something, I don't entirely know what that was about.
Yeah. I mean, and what did you think of was it Dr. Poison?
Did Dr. Poison really have more than 5 lines in the movie?
I don't think so. I mean, she did have a mouthpiece.
Yeah, and we didn't even know what was going on there. Just a few more lines. Maybe something that happened from the Allies that made her want to destroy the Allies.
Yeah.
And had caused that mouthpiece. Just a couple more lines, and she would have been a significantly better character. Or had they made Ares Dr. Poison be the embodiment of Ares.
Actually, it would probably make a lot more sense. She and the general was trying to continue the war, and it was obvious that the general thought that he was controlling the Dr. Poison, but Dr. Poison would have been really controlling him, and the entire idea was to continue the war. That's what the Dr. Poison, the general's motives were.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it would have been better if Dr. Poison was Ares in that point.
And then it just proved to be the good character. I mean, it's just a bait and switch. It's something a lot of movies do. And it's really never my favorite decision. I still enjoyed this movie, but the fact that they have that bait and switch so late in the game, it makes it where
the villains, you don't get that much.
The villain is really weak.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But I did like his motives, though. His motives were basically, he was trying to convince Diana to join him to continue man, because his entire motive was, look, those Zeus created man, they're corruptible, and we need to kill them because they're going to be the death of all of us. For some reason, like, they don't deserve you, they don't deserve love, they don't deserve compassion. And that's why this has a great message, because Chris Pine, and I love this scene when Wonder Woman just got done killing the general, and she thought that by doing so, the war was going to end.
Well, I kind of like that. I mean, I know I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but I kind of did like the bait and switch with the sword. This whole movie, we'll talk the sword. The sword will be what kills Ares.
And it's a god killer.
Yeah, and then we see it, and then he puts his hand up, and it's just like, nope.
Yeah, and it ended up that the entire time we were told that, oh, there was a secret about Wonder Woman that she could never find out. And in the end, she is the God Killer. She was quite literally molded by clay by her mother and brought to life by Zeus because her mother prayed. But Zeus made her the God Killer, made her, basically, in the end, she was a goddess.
Yeah, she is basically the goddess of compassion and love.
Yeah, it continues with the Greek pantheon. I do love that line that Chris Pine's character made in the film because once Wonder Woman found out that the war is not ending and that, mankind doesn't deserve... She actually said that. You don't deserve me. You don't deserve my love. My mom was right. And Chris Pine said that probably a profound line saying, it may not be Ares. He may not have control over us. Some people may just be bad. And it's not about what you deserve, it's about what you believe. And then, of course, Chris Pine saying, look, if you're not going to help us stop the war, that's fine, but I got to do this, I got to stop the war. And I love that willingness to sacrifice yourself for other people.
Actually, I really did too. I didn't always like the ending scene. It kind of just went on too long.
Okay.
But the Steve Trevor thing was just about as good as I hoped it would be.
Yeah, I mean, and his ending was, in the end, he did make the ultimate sacrifice. He hijacked a plane that had poison bombs on it. They realized that they needed to blow the thing up in flames. And I just love that moment because you saw in his face, he was laughing because he won, but then he realized, I got to kill myself. He took a deep breath, and that's what...
But other than that, I mean, that part of the last act was great. That part of the ending scene. But the fight with Ares just kind of went on too long to me.
But what did you think about the other action moments in this movie?
Some of it was good. But some of it just had superhero problems. Because as you've heard a lot from me and Joseph, we love good action films. We've talked about John Wick. We've talked about Mad Max Fury Road. We've talked about Die Hard, not as an episode, but we've talked about it. We talked about Terminator 2. All these great action films. I guess we just have really high expectations when it comes to action scenes. Because this movie still had a lot of the superhero problems. And even in this, the CG was kind of wonky at points.
Yeah, there was a shot where Diana as a child was falling off the edge, and you could kind of tell, like, yeah, she's in front of a green screen.
Yeah, and then the scene where she jumps to the weapons room, she jumps across the ravine.
Yeah.
That scene didn't look great.
I understand timetables, and then that's really probably going to be a downside about releasing a film every single year, like DC's trying to do, and like Lucasfilm's trying to do, and Marvel has been doing since 2008, that the post-production is going to suffer because of it in some parts.
I mean, I understand because of the release schedule they can't worry as much about pre-production, because post-production is not a magic wand. I mean, I understand why they do it. I understand it makes a lot of sense because you can't do everything in pre.
The same thing happened with Batman v Superman. I mean, Doomsday was terrible looking.
I will say, though, like, if I'm being this nitpicky about a film, it's obvious I enjoyed the film. Because I can find something I don't like about literally every single film.
That's true. You mean Mad Max Fury Road?
Even Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
It will take me a while to think of that one.
Yeah.
But even Mad Max Fury Road, I could probably think of something.
Yeah, there is. But one thing I do really love about this movie very quick and before we move on, and that's when Wonder Woman finally reveals herself in the trenches. Because they were in the trenches on the front line, and she talked to a woman about a village that got kidnapped, and she said to Chris Pine's character, we gotta do something, we gotta go over the hills. And at this point in time, Chris Pine has kept on holding Wonder Woman back, and don't reveal yourself, and just stay calm and just be patient. And at that point, Woman was like, I can't be patient anymore. And I love how Chris Pine said to her, look, this is called no man's land. It means no man, whether it's man or woman, is going to be able to go over the hill and survive. We always seen that by this point in the beginning of the film, 2 Amazonian women already died because of bullet wounds. So we saw that Chris Pine was legitimate concern. And that's another thing I love about that. Those scenes may seem pointless, but there was payoffs down the road from an emotional standpoint. Because from an audience member, you could see the fear of Chris Pine's character, like, I don't want to lose you, Diana. And you can see her, don't go over the hill, but she's like, I gotta do it anyway because I gotta help these people. They're in trouble. I'm going to do it. And I love that when she goes over onto the battlefield and just charges the line.
And I love it too, because that's the first time you see her costume in all its glory. That's the first time you hear the soundtrack in all its glory.
Yes.
And it is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it.
Once the movie's out and that's on YouTube, I will probably just watch it on repeat.
The scene? Yeah. Oh yeah.
For like hours at a time.
For me, it's like that scene in Batman vs. Superman where Batman takes on all those men. I love that scene. I know that Batman doesn't have that many is a good structure, but I love that scene. And I love the car chase in the Batmobile. So I keep on playing those scenes too. So.
And I kind of like the ending of that scene too, because the movie is so well paced. we actually spend some time in the village.
Yeah.
It feels like more than just an objective. They took the time to give us an emotional connection to the village. So later in the movie, when it gets bombed with that poison bomb,
Yeah, you could see Diana's hate about what just happened, and it's like we just say this: everybody's now dead, and she was upset at Chris Pine's character because you stopped me from killing this general because that's what he was going to do. If I just killed the general, this would never happen. It's just a well written film and well pacing film because you could see the emotional pull on Diana. She's seeing man, she's seeing the Greys, and she's having a hard time coping with it.
It is so well paced though, because they spent just the right amount of time on Themyscira.
Yeah.
They spent just the right amount of time in London to just not get bored with it, and it was great. That was one specific shot in London I really liked though.
What was that?
You know the scene when they're in the alleyway and like she protects Chris Pine?
Yeah.
It was a direct homage to Superman the movie with Christopher Reeves.
Oh, really? Oh, that scene?
Yeah, because Christopher Reeves is Lois Lane, and she gets run up on by some bad people, and he gets shot, and Superman catches the bullet. And that's the reason we see the bullet in Chris Pine's hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of an homage to that scene.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's interesting. It
Yeah,
is.
I mean, it's a little bit detail. I mean, I love Superman, so it's just something I noticed, but I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah. But before we go, does this film put DC back on
Yes.
track? Yes?
Yes.
Do you have hope for Justice League?
I don't know.
You see, that's the thing, though. I mean, yes, we can say it puts them on track,
I
but
mean, it's the movie after Justice League, though, because, I mean, I understand Justice League may not be as awesome as this. I do understand that, because Justice League has so much to do.
yeah.
Justice League has a lot of work to do. A lot more than this movie. And I
mean-
understand that. But then when Aquaman in 2018, and then the Flash movie, and then Cyborg, and all these other movies, I'm definitely anticipating those. Because it showed they can do single character movies again. I don't know how much I entrust them in an ensemble movie.
This is the second director that we've seen that's not Zack Snyder, and this is the first time we've seen a film that's not meddled by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we'll just see what happens. I'm inherently excited for Justice League.
Me too.
It's the first time we're seeing Cyborg on the screen. It's the first time we're seeing The Flash and all these characters.
Well, it's the first time that Aquaman doesn't seem like a dork.
Well, also that. As I said on a previous episode, I grew up watching the Justice League animated series. I truly feel it's one of the best animated series ever. I love these characters. I grew up with these characters.
Oh, me too. I mean, as much as I love Marvel, I'm more comfortable in the DC universe. I know these characters more because I didn't know Batman's backstory. I didn't really know Captain America's backstory or the Hulk or Thor's backstory. But I knew we know Superman, Batman. We know the Green Lantern and the Flash and Wonder Woman, and these are the characters that when you think of superheroes, these names come first up on the list.
Definitely. So, I mean, I hope this movie puts DC back on the right track. I do. I want in my heart of hearts for Justice League to not suck.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that Zack Snyder got a lot of help from Ben Affleck as he produced it, and a lot of help from Joss Whedon helping out with the scenes and helping out with hopefully some of
And if it doesn't work, I mean, if the movie, this and Aquaman don't work, they can just have Patty Jenkins direct every movie.
that would be impossible, but yes.
I don't care if it's impossible.
Make clones
Yeah,
of her.
exactly. They can clone Patty Jenkins. I don't know. Just have Patty Jenkins direct every movie.
Yeah, I hope there's like she's a quadruplet.
Yeah, exactly. Have her Patty Jenkins twin. I don't know. Just have Patty Jenkins do every single movie in the DC universe.
Exactly, because this film was fun. It was finally a DC film that
It was more
like,
than
good.
fun, though. It had so much heart.
It did, and it made sense that a Wonder Woman movie would have a lot of heart too. It does, and I would love to see Man of Steel have heart. Batman being Batman have heart. If there's an oxymoron or not.
Yeah, I don't really know about that one.
Yeah, but no, I mean we definitely. There's no doubt about that. We enjoyed this movie.
No, I definitely enjoyed it. This movie exceeded my expectations. I actually had high expectations for this movie. Mm-hmm. I will admit I did. Even though it was unwise after the other DC movies, I did have high expectations. And I can safely say this movie exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, me too, because there's a lot of things I didn't expect this film to do that did so well.
No, exactly.
I mean, I felt this film, the trailers made it out to be, it's going to be a good film, it's going to be competent, but I didn't expect the heart.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. from the trailers, it looked a lot more action focused, and I'm really glad they went full on heart. This movie has so much heart. I've said that word like 50 times now. But I just want to get it through y'all's heads. I love the amount of heart this movie has.
Yeah, see, because the last superhero film I know that had that much heart was Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, those films in the Marvel Cinema Universe seem to be the ones that are the heartfelt. And this film definitely was a competent movie and great movie altogether. But unfortunately, as much as we love this film, we're running out of time.
Yeah, we are. We've talked a whole lot.
Yeah, but before we go, is there a shout-out you want to give?
Actually, there is. It's another show within the Podtron network.
Okay.
Like, as y'all know, we're with Podtron. Facebook.com/Podtron, Twitter.com/Podtron, Podtron.wordpress.com. Check us out. But the show I'm going to talk about is This Was Rad.
Okay.
I've actually talked about this show before, and I'm really excited they're part of the Podtron network with us, because I've loved this show since I started listening to the podcast. It's called This Was Rad. It's a show where, like, two older men sit down and watch movies from their youth with their 12-year-old daughter.
Oh, really?
Yes, and they kind of just talk about it with their daughter. And they talk about it like whether or not it holds up. They did a really good episode on Die Hard. They did an episode on Short Circuit.
Yeah, she is, and then she's watching Die Hard. I mean, that's fine. I mean, parents' prerogative. But it's like, and then Short Circuit, I grew up with that movie.
Yeah, I love Short Circuit, and I listened to this episode, and it's great.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of a few scenes I forgot, so it was great. So if you could take the time, listen to them, check them out. They're great. And listen to one of the other shows within Podtron too. Like, we're going to give another one of the shows a shout out next week. But before I do, just check them out. They're all great. We're lucky to be in this network with such great pop culture shows.
And we are lucky to have really great listeners too.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in. But as always, I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Combs.
And you've been listening to the CNC Geekcast.